I've never really been a fan of fender flares on trucks, and I was a little hesitant to install them on my Trail Boss. But once I got them on, man, I was wrong. These things look really good. These are the Husky Liner RVL fender flares. I think they give a much more rugged look to the truck. They come with a built-in LED running light and built-in mud flap. I didn't really like the factory mud flaps that came on the truck, so I first ended up with the Rough Country Mud Flap Delete kit. I don't really mind the mud flap on these because it's more low profile and it blends really well with the fender flare. I also like that the LED light comes with a blackout cover that hides the light when the truck isn't turned on. They can be wired into your running lights, or you can wire them to come on with your turn signals. I chose to wire these just to be a running light. The biggest thing I was worried about with having fender flares is I don't want the tires to look tucked in, and with the wheel offset I have, which is a -12, and the tires being a 295/70/18, they're almost perfectly aligned with the outside of the flares. So not only do these look great on the truck, but I now have protection from debris getting kicked up the side of it. Installing these was a little harder than I anticipated. It was mainly due to getting everything lined up and wired correctly. Let's go through some of the install now. I started by running all the wiring for the LED marker lights. For the front fender flares, it's much easier to access the headlamp connector by going through the fender liner. Once you have that pulled back and the front headlamp connector disconnected, I connected the red wire from the LED marker light to the yellow wire on the headlamp connector. I connected the black wire from the LED marker light to the black wire on the headlamp connector. I ran enough cable to get to the middle of the fender liner and left about a foot of cable to work with. For the back fender flares, I connected the red wire from the LED marker light to the yellow wire on the tail lamp connector, and the black wire from the LED marker light to the black wire on the tail lamp connector. I ran the cable back behind the leaf springs and found a hole to run through to gain access inside the rear fender liner. I then ran the wire up to the middle and again left about a foot of cable to work with. Moving on to installing the LED lights, I first applied the gasket on the fender flare and then applied the blackout film on the lens covers. These will keep light from shining out the top of the lens cover. Now you can push the wire from the LED light through the center hole on the fender flare and line up the lens cover. Taking 2 screws on the back, you'll want to snug them up, but try not to over tighten them or else you could crack the lens covers. The last prep work for the fender flares is installing the edge trim, slowly peeling back a few inches of the vinyl backing, applying the trim all the way around the edges of the flares. Once you reach the end, just take scissors and cut it to fit. For the front, you'll need to install an inner bracket with 2 of the factory torque screws. Then you can feed the wiring through the top of the bracket. Grabbing the fender flares, I found it easiest to install the first 2 screws into the top bracket. Depending on your model, there are different clips to attach the front of the flare. I ended up using these clips and screwed it in with the factory torque screw. You will also use the factory screws at these 2 locations and then install a U-clip in this location. They supply a black piece of foam to protect your paint, and then you can slide the U-clip into place, lining it up with the hole. Use the supplied screw in the kit to tighten it down. We are now ready to connect the wires from the headlamp to the LED marker light. I chose to solder the wires, but they do supply butt connectors if you want to just use those. Once connected, you can easily hide the wires behind the screws at the top mounting locations. Lining the back fender flare up, I put a factory screw there, and 1 more factory screw right there. You will then want to take a Sharpie and mark all the hole locations that will require a U-clip. There's a total of 5 screws to attach the fender flare to the U-clips. Once marked, stick the foam pieces on the Sharpie marks and then slide on the U-clips. Using the supplied screws, attach the fender flare to the truck. The only location that doesn't require a screw is right here, and now you can finish the wiring. You will have to press pretty firmly against these to get everything lined up with the holes, but like I said before, this was very time consuming, but I do think it was worth it. I do really think that these give the truck a much more rugged look, and I'm very pleased with how they turned out. I want to thank Real Truck for sending these out for me to show you guys. I hope this video was helpful, and until next time, we'll see y'all. I didn't really like the factory